Okay, so talking about whether sine, cosine, and tangent are even, odd, or neither. So you have to remember what an even function is and an odd function is. So an even function, if a function is even, then that means that f of negative x is equal to f of x. When you think of an even function, think of a parabola, where if you have a certain point on the right side of the y-axis, you'll have the exact same point on the left side of the y-axis, because f of 1 in this case is the same thing as f of negative 1. The even function is symmetric about the y-axis because f of negative x is equal to f of x, same thing. All right, an odd function, if you want to think of that, think of a function like x cubed, which looks like this. You can see that on this function, you can see that f of 1 is equal to the opposite of f of negative 1. So on this function, f of 1 is 1. F of negative 1 is the opposite of 1, which is negative 1. So an odd function is symmetric about the origin. If you look at your unit circle, you can see that for the cosine function, say you have 30 degrees, you're taking cosine 30. Cosine 30 is square root of 3 over 2. Cosine negative 30 is also the square root of 3 over 2. Cosine 45 is the square root of 2 over 2. Cosine negative 45 is also the square root of 2 over 2. Cosine is your x-coordinate. So you can see that cosine is an even function because f of negative x is the same as f of x. Cosine is even because cosine x is equal to cosine negative x. Sine of 30 is 1/2. Sine of negative 30 is negative 1/2. Sine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. Sine of negative 45 is negative square root of 2 over 2. So sine is odd. Sine x is odd. Sine x is equal to the opposite of sine negative x. The same is true for tangent. It is also odd because if you look at, say, the tangent of 45 degrees, tangent of 45 degrees is 1, because square root of 2 over 2 divided by the square root of 2 over 2 is 1. Tangent negative 45 degrees, which is down here, is going to be negative 1. So tangent is odd. Tangent of x is odd because the tangent of x is equal to the opposite of the tangent of negative x. So knowing these things will help us do the next problems. The reciprocal functions, cosecant, secant, and cotangent, are the same as their reciprocals. So secant, since cosine is even, secant is even. Since sine of x is odd, cosecant of x is odd. And since tangent of x is odd, cotangent of x is odd. So if we have this kind of thing, we can use that information about even and odd functions and about periodic functions to do these problems. So you've got 4 cosine t plus cosine of the opposite of t. So because cosine is an even function, we know that cosine of negative t is the same as cosine of t. So this is equal to 4 cosine of t plus cosine of t. And that's just 5 cosine of t. Okay, so this one gets a little confusing because there's just a lot of 3t's and negative signs in this one. So off to the side, I'm just going to remind us that tangent is odd. Tangent of x is odd, which means that tangent of negative x is equal to negative tangent of x. So here we've got tangent of negative 3t. That's going to equal the opposite of tangent of 3t. And then here, before we do anything about it being an odd function, we need to remember that the period of tangent is pi. So it repeats every pi radians. So tangent of negative 3t plus pi is the same thing as the tangent of negative 3t. And now, again, we have right here tangent of negative 3t. And because tangent is odd, that is the opposite of the tangent of 3t. So if we put it all together, we've got negative tangent 3t minus negative tangent 3t. So negative tangent 3t plus positive tangent 3t, and that's just going to be 0. Okay, when you're using your calculator to punch in sine and cosine and tangent and all those guys, you want to make sure that your calculator is in the right mode for either degrees or radians. And this only matters when you're punching in an angle measure. So this little button that says DRG, that toggles between degrees here, radians there, and there's one other thing that you're not going to use, which is GRAD. So you need to make sure you have the right little letters up there in your calculator screen before you start punching stuff in. So for both of these problems, A and B, these are radians. We know that because there's no degree sign. If there's no degree sign, you have to assume that you're dealing with radians. So make sure your calculator looks like that with the little RAD at the top. So for A, you're going to hit 2 times pi divided by 7. Then you have to hit equals so you can get that all equaled out. And then you hit cosine. And that will give you 0.623 about. To do your reciprocal functions, unless your calculator has specific buttons for those, and our calculator does not, the TI-30XA does not. So when you want to do the cosecant of 0.92, you're going to hit 0.92. Make sure you're in radians, first of all. And then, since cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, you're going to hit sine. So that'll give you the sine of 0.92. And then you're going to use the little button that says 1 over x and to take the reciprocal of whatever you get. So 0.92 sine, and you're going to hit the 1 over x button. And that is going to give you your cosecant. It's going to be about 1.26.